Episode 4. Write, revise, rinse, and repeat. You've decided what genre you're going to use, you've done your homework of reading and researching, you're finally ready to start writing, and nothing comes. If you're having trouble putting pen to paper, I suggest a couple things. One is writing an outline, which I highly recommend you do anyway. If you go to any writer's conference or workshop, there's one guaranteed topic: plotting versus pantsing. Plotting means outlining before you write. Pantsing means writing without an outline or by the seat of your pants, hence the term pantsing. There's no right or wrong way, it's whatever works for you. But as someone who's done both, I have found that outlining is really the way to go. It saves a ton of time and energy, so you don't write yourself into corners with storylines that go nowhere. It forces you to take a bird's eye view of the project, such as knowing the end to your story from the get-go, and it helps you get motivated and break log jams when you're stuck. Note, you don't have to stick to your outline. It's simply a guide. I've learned to devote a portion of my daily writing time to that outline, changing it according to what I've written or a new idea that's occurred to me. I check it against the outline and see if it will work. Believe me, when you're working on projects that involve several hundred pages, you can easily get lost. An outline is a roadmap through the forest. Another way to get going is to write shorter pieces first, an essay or a short story perhaps. Neither of these is a waste of time. You can incorporate these into your book or submit them for publication either before or after you've written your book to help market it and yourself. They can also serve as confidence builders or as the beginnings of an outline. Another simple way to get going is simply to start at the beginning and tell your story chronologically. If you have to, go way back and start with your birth, or start at the very beginning of the period of your life that you're writing about. But know that this may be just a device to get you to put pen to paper. I say this because a key mistake that I see many writers of both novels and memoirs, both published and unpublished, is starting your story at the beginning. This, of course, seems the logical place to start, but it's usually not the best place, because the beginning is often the slowest part of any story. I can't tell you how many memoirs I've seen that start with, "I was born in." Boring. Unless you're writing a strict autobiography, your story should start at a turning point for your character, when they're facing high stakes and a pivotal decision that determines their outcome, i.e. the rest of the book. This is called in media res, meaning in middle of the action. It can be a dramatic or poignant scene from anywhere in the story. It serves to draw the reader into going on your journey because they know it's going to lead to that exciting place at the beginning. In Chapter 2, you go back to the events immediately preceding that turning point and then start telling your story up to the point you wrote about in the beginning without retelling it. The stuff about your parents, your birth, your childhood, all that deep background can be sprinkled in as you go unless it's directly related to the main plot. In this way, you ensure that the action of the book keeps moving forward and you keep the reader's interest engaged. Again, study how top memoirists do it. They slip in background naturally, almost unnoticeably. Another key mistake beginning writers make is including all that boring stuff. Memoir is a process of magnification and minimization. You take key events and magnify them with detail, description, dialogue, and material monologue about their significance. The stuff that doesn't matter so much, you minimize, condense it into a paraphrasing sentence or two, or skip it altogether. These key incidents should be mapped out on your outline. While memoirs are true stories, they are impression-based as opposed to autobiographies that are fact-based. Memoir is about your memory of events. Often we remember how a particular incident made us feel, rather than the details of the event itself. Memoir allows you to reimagine conversations, pluck events out of chronological order, or even collapse events or characters. This does not mean making up stuff wholesale, like James Frey did in his addiction memoir, A Million Little Pieces, which caused a huge publishing scandal. As long as the events and people existed, changing them around is acceptable. One thing you should be aware of when writing about your life: it can be emotionally triggering. The reasons why people write memoir are often deeply personal. They seek catharsis. In fact, psychological research has shown that writing about a painful incident is therapeutic and leads to quicker and longer-lasting recovery. But it can also trigger emotional waves, such as sorrow, grief, anger, that you may have thought you'd conquered. If that happens, step away from the book and then come back when you're ready. And remember, you don't have to include everything. If it's too painful to write about, don't do it. Beginnings and endings are often the parts that you already have envisioned in your mind, and perhaps the easiest to write because of that. The beginning is the most important part of your book because that will determine if the reader reads on. Likewise, the ending is important because that's the last thing readers will read. That colors their impression of the overall book. The ending has to wrap up the different plot threads in a satisfying conclusion. The middle of the book is often the most difficult to write. You have to keep the characters and plot going for a good long while before reaching that final act. This is often where the plot bogs down and gets boring. The answer is subplots and secondary characters and so forth. This part is where an outline really comes in handy. Okay, so you've reached the end of your book and you sit back. I'm done! Yay! First, take a moment to celebrate that yay moment. The majority of people start books and never finish, so you're already ahead of the game. But it's not the end yet. Then, it's rewrite. The real writing is done in rewriting. I actually love the rewrite process. To me, first draft is like getting blood out of a proverbial stone. But you have to have that first draft in order to rewrite. The first thing you probably want to do is give your manuscript to others to get their opinions. Stop. I don't advise giving your first draft to anyone. It's too raw. Wait until a later draft to solicit feedback. I've made this mistake more than once, and the negative feedback I got paralyzed me, in one case for years. Also, never give your draft to friends or family. They're just going to pat you on the back and say, it's good. That doesn't help you. The best way to get honest feedback is from people you have no relationship with. This is why signing up for a writing class and finding critique groups is so important. If you don't have those resources, you can self-edit. I've found the best way to do this is to let the manuscript go cold. Leave it for as long as you can, a minimum of a month. Work on something else and then go back to it. All sorts of mistakes will pop out at you and new ideas will come to you. You'll need to rewrite and revise numerous times. Each time you should get through the manuscript faster because there should be less to edit. You will instinctively feel when you're finished. The writing process can indeed be long. It's important to recognize that and be patient. Many people are so eager to see themselves in print, they self-publish a first or second draft when the book could have been worthy of a publishing contract if they'd taken more time or care with it. Remember, it's your story. It's worth the time and effort to do right by it. I hope you found this course useful. You can always find me online on my website listed on the handouts or on the usual social media sites. Good luck with writing your life and your writing life.